Charlotte isn't a cheat code. It just looks like one from the outside. The job market's humming, the city's expanding, and day-to-day life genuinely feels lighter than most places people are coming from. But if you think this city runs on vibes, rankings, and instant happiness, that's how people end up 6 months in, staring at brake lights on I-77 near the South Park exit at 5:45, thinking, wait, why does this feel harder than I expected? And if that thought's crossed your mind, good. That means you're paying attention. Get the system and Charlotte opens up fast. Miss it and the friction adds up quietly. I've watched people move here and level up their life almost immediately. And I've seen others miss by one or two small assumptions that turned into daily friction. The wild part is, once you really get Charlotte, the lifestyle clicks all at once. Like, oh, this is the game. So the real question is, are you about to play it the smart way or learn it the hard way? All right, quick reset because this part matters. My routine, my weeks, my stress level have all been shaped by how Charlotte actually works. I didn't just pop in, film a few videos, and disappear. I've watched friends move here convinced they cracked the code. And I've watched that confidence wobble once real life kicked in. Charlotte doesn't punish bad decisions. It taxes bad assumptions. Same city, completely different outcomes. And it was never about the house, the price, or even the job. It was whether their daily life actually matched how Charlotte worked. I learned that lesson myself. On paper, everything looked perfect, but my days felt heavier than they needed to. Coffee happened in the car, not at home. Mornings started with brake lights and background radio noise. Afternoons disappeared into pickup lines and rushed errands that somehow took forever. Once I changed how I moved through the city, where I spent my time, and how I thought about location, that's why none of this is about lists, awards, or internet hype. It's about translating Charlotte so it actually works for you. And it starts with the one thing people feel immediately, but rarely talk about. What daily life in Charlotte really feels like when the camera's off and it's just you and your routine. After the move-in buzz fades, the city feels very specific. Your days are efficient, but they're structured. Mornings move fast, coffee gets made while you're checking traffic, and there's a reason for that. Over 80% of people here drive to work, so timing matters more than distance. People here value efficiency more than attention. You notice it right away. Gyms are busy before sunrise, grocery stores are packed by 5, and everyone seems to know exactly where they're going, even if they don't know everyone around them yet. Weekdays feel sharp and productive. Weekends slow way down. Charlotte works hard Monday through Friday, then collectively exhales, especially once you get south towards places like South Park and Ballantyne, where life is built around routines, not spontaneity. Daily life here feels easy when your location lines up and quietly heavy when it doesn't. The average commute in Charlotte sits under just half an hour. But that number hides how much it swings based on where you live and when you travel. I had a client move here from out of state, super excited. Great job, great house on paper. 6 months later, they called me frustrated. Not angry, just worn down. Their commute felt longer than expected. Errands took more mental energy than they should. Nothing was wrong, but everything felt off. We didn't talk about selling, we talked about their routine. Where work actually pulled them during the week, school timing, the places they kept driving to over and over again, looping around I-77 and I-485 without realizing how much time it was quietly eating. They didn't need a new city, they needed a different pocket of Charlotte. Once that changed, the stress dropped almost overnight. Same income, same job, totally different life. It's not chaotic, it's not overwhelming, it's precise. Nearly half the people living here moved within the last decade, which means a lot of folks are still learning how to make the city work for them. When you live in the right spot, days feel smooth and predictable. When you don't, small frictions stack up quietly. That contrast defines the lifestyle. This city rewards people who design their weekdays, not just their weekends. Before we jump into neighborhoods, one thing matters. If Charlotte's on your radar, connect with the local Charlotte real estate team of choice. That's us. We help people get the setup right before small assumptions turn into daily friction. Commute, timing, lifestyle, and how Charlotte actually moves. If you want that level of clarity, our info is in the description. Call us, text us, email us, however you want to reach out. We're a local real estate team. We live this city daily, and we'll help you figure out where Charlotte actually works for you before small assumptions turn into daily friction. Clarity and confusion split at the neighborhood level. That's the real dividing line. What looks like one metro on a map actually behaves like a collection of lifestyles stitched together by highways, timing, and habits. Two areas can sit 10 minutes apart and feel like different planets on a Tuesday morning. When people move here assuming one unified vibe, daily friction shows up fast. Charlotte functions as a node-based city. Plain English, life works in pockets. Walkability is concentrated in less than 15% of the land area, which means where you live determines how you move. South End runs on a social, walkable rhythm. Picture grabbing a coffee on Camden Road and seeing the same faces every morning on foot, or walking down the rail trail without checking your watch. Ballantyne moves quieter, more scheduled, more car dependent, where evenings revolve around school pickup loops and parking lots, not sidewalks. Plaza Midwood feels local and personality driven, especially around Central Avenue when patios spill out after work. Huntersville leans structured and family forward. Matthews runs on its own clock entirely. Walkability, social energy, commute flow, even how often you interact with neighbors, all shift based on where you land. The city doesn't blend those experiences together. You choose one and it shapes everything. I see this play out constantly with relocation clients. People fall in love with a house and then slowly realize their daily life is fighting the neighborhood. They wanted walkable mornings, bought deep suburban. They wanted quiet evenings and landed near nightlife. They work uptown but moved south because weekends felt calmer, without realizing that weekday traffic would quietly reclaim an hour of their day, especially once 77 backs up near Tyvola. More than 80% of people here drive alone for their daily commute, so misalignment shows up fast. Charlotte doesn't announce it loudly, it just drains your energy over time. What surprises people is how common second moves are here. Nearly half the city relocated within the last decade, which means that a massive portion of residents are still learning which pocket actually fits their routine. It's the same people, same income, same jobs, different neighborhood, and suddenly life feels lighter. Not because the city changed, but because alignment did. Drop a comment and tell me the neighborhood vibe you think you want. Walkable and social, quiet with space, close to work, close to schools, or are you still undecided? I read those and I reply because dialing this in early matters here more than almost anywhere else. And once it clicks that this is a hyper-local city by design, the way you evaluate everything shifts. You stop asking if an area is good and start asking if it supports how your week actually runs. And that mindset opens the door to the next reality. People underestimate when they move here. Not the house, not the zip code. The trade-offs that only show themselves once daily life is in motion. Most cities try to impress you. Charlotte doesn't, and that's exactly why people misread it online. When you scroll rankings or watch highlight reels, Charlotte gets sold like a finished lifestyle. Arrive, unpack, instantly feel it. Real life here runs the opposite direction. Charlotte hits neutral first. Not dead, not electric, neutral. And that messes with people because we're trained to think that the best cities should punch us in the chest emotionally on day one. Here's a reality check. Nearly half of Charlotte's population moved here within the last 10 or 15 years. That's not legacy energy, that's transition energy. This is a city full of people mid-build, not mid-nostalgia. Charlotte doesn't perform, it functions. And the numbers back that up. The largest in-migration group coming here sits in the 25 to 44 age range. Prime years for career climbs, family starts, and lifestyle restructuring. That shapes everything. The pace, the priorities, the way people move through their days. It's why Uptown can feel all business by noon, then quiet out fast once the workday clears. That structure shows up in daily movement too. Over 80% of residents commute by car. which means that routines get planned, not improvised. Fewer accidental nights out, more intentional schedules, less noise, more control. You feel it when traffic tightens up near 77 in the morning, then loosens its grip once the evening rush fades. That's where the disconnect shows up. Some folks mistake quiet momentum for a lack of identity. Others recognize it as freedom. Charlotte hands you breathing room and waits to see what you do with it. How busy you want to be, how social you want to be, how structured your life becomes. The city doesn't answer those questions for you. You answer them yourself. That's why two people can move here at the same time and walk away with opposite takes. One says, "This place is boring." The other says, "My stress just dropped in half." Same city, different wiring. Charlotte doesn't override your habits, it amplifies them. Online, Charlotte looks like rooftop cocktails and skyline sunsets. Real Charlotte is a Tuesday night where you're home by 8:30, meal prepping while the dishwasher hums because you got a 7:15 meeting and an early gym class booked before traffic thickens. Same city, two completely different reads. One's a highlight reel, the other is the life people actually move here to build. Mornings here are tight and intentional. Nights are calm, early, and predictable, and that contrast defines the city. Once that clicks, the city stops feeling underwhelming and starts feeling customizable. You realize it's not chasing your attention, it's protecting your bandwidth, and that subtle difference explains something that people argue about nonstop online without ever connecting the dots. If Charlotte isn't loud, flashy, or trying to prove itself, why do tens of thousands of people keep choosing it anyway? That question pulls us out of vibes and straight into motive. And understanding motive is the key to the next layer that people underestimate when they move here. People don't keep moving here by accident, not at this scale. Charlotte pulls people in because it quietly solves problems that other cities make exhausting. Career growth without the constant edge, space without isolation, structure without chaos. It's not a dream city, it's a usable one. And that distinction matters more the longer that life gets busy. The numbers tell a different story than the usual headlines. Charlotte ranks as the second largest banking center in the US, only behind New York City, which anchors long-term, white-collar job stability here. The metro also sits in the top tier nationally for corporate relocation announcements. Not startups chasing hype, but established employers expanding headcount. On top of that, the region is running at an estimated 20 to 30% housing undersupply relative to household growth, which explains why demand keeps pushing outward instead of disappearing. People aren't leaving when life changes, they're repositioning inside the metro. That steady pull reshapes daily life. Charlotte doesn't run on extremes, it runs on repeatable days. You feel it along the Lynx Blue Line through South End during the work week, where mornings are tight, efficient, and purpose-driven, then quiet down fast once the laptops close. You can push hard without feeling like you're sacrificing your health to do it. You can raise a family without every weekend becoming a logistics marathon. A lot of people don't move here chasing excitement. They move here chasing sustainability. You can spot it in how people talk after they've been here a year. The urgency drops, calendars get tighter, but days feel lighter. People stop bragging about how busy they are and start protecting their time like it's currency. Weeknights turn predictable. Weekends stop feeling like recovery missions. The city doesn't slow you down, it smooths the edges. Same ambition, fewer fires. That shift isn't accidental. It's reinforced by the fact that roughly 85% of residents still commute by car, which quietly rewards planning, timing, and routine over spontaneity. Optionality is another quiet driver. The region supports multiple life chapters without forcing an exit. Early career renters can stay close to job nodes. Growing families can shift outward without giving up employment access. Later stage households don't have to trade peace for relevance. You see it in how areas around Ballantyne's employment corridor keep absorbing second moves instead of watching people leave the city altogether. Charlotte doesn't trap people in one version of themselves. There's also a psychological layer that people underestimate. Charlotte doesn't demand reinvention. It doesn't require performance to belong. You keep your habits and refine them. That's why the city keeps attracting builders. People designing careers, routines, families, and time back. Predictability with upside. That momentum explains the inflow, but it also creates pressure that sneaks up quietly. When growth stays this consistent, trade-offs show up before people expect them. And that leads straight into the topic that causes the most confusion and unnecessary stress when people talk about moving here. The real cost of living conversation, without the panic. Let's level set the money conversation, because Charlotte gets misjudged hard right here. People either assume it's dirt cheap forever, or they panic scroll charts and decide it's suddenly unaffordable. Both takes miss the truth. Charlotte sits in the middle lane. It's not a bargain basement. It's not a financial chokehold. It's a city where the math works if your expectations are current and your location choices are intentional. Here's what actually matters. Home prices did climb fast, but context matters. The median home price in the Charlotte metro sits around the low 400s, which is a big jump from pre-2020, but still far below most other markets that people are moving from. That growth slowed meaningfully compared to the sprint years, which is why prices feel steadier now instead of chaotic. Rents followed a similar pattern, not cheap, just stabilized. The bigger surprise for newcomers is that everyday expenses feel normal. Charlotte's overall cost of living hovers right around the national average, give or take a point depending on the source. Utilities don't wreck you. Groceries don't shock you every checkout. Gas stinks sometimes, sure, but not in a way that changes your lifestyle overnight. The pressure shows up in one place first, and that's housing. Everything else tends to stay manageable if you planned well. Two households with similar incomes can have completely different monthly stress levels based on commute distance, HOA structure, and how often they're driving across town. A shorter drive and fewer forced errands often beat a cheaper mortgage on paper. You feel that contrast immediately between living closer to South End versus stretching out further near the 485 loop. Same city, different friction. Quick grounding moment here. None of this is dramatic, but it all compounds. What also gets lost online is how predictable the expenses are once you settle in. This isn't a city where surprise costs ambush you every month. Bills are consistent, taxes are straightforward, insurance is reasonable compared to coastal markets. North Carolina's effective property tax rate sits below the national average, which is why monthly ownership cost here feels steadier than people expect, even as home prices rise. When financial stress shows up, it's usually not taxes. It's an early location decision that quietly added time, gas, and a mental load. Here's the mindset shift that helps. Charlotte rewards people who budget time the same way they budget money. If your days run smooth, your spending usually follows. Fewer impulse fixes, fewer stress purchases, less "why does everything feel heavy" energy. That's why the cost conversation here stays calm for people who planned intentionally and loud for people that didn't. Quick check-in. Drop a comment and tell me what worries you most about cost here. Housing, commute expenses, taxes, or just trying to figure out what's real versus internet noise. I read those comments and I reply, because this part trips people up more than it needs to. The calm truth is this: Charlotte isn't cheap in the way that it used to be. It's affordable in the way that actually matters long term. Predictable, balanced, forgiving if you adjust early. And that's why the city keeps working for people, even as it grows. Now here's where the conversation usually shifts next. And it's where people either feel relief or get blindsided. Cost is only half the equation. The other half is how this city moves every single day. Commute patterns, traffic reality, and how timing quietly shapes your quality of life more than price ever will. The friction here isn't dramatic, and that's actually good news. People don't usually move to Charlotte and immediately think they messed up. The drag shows up slowly, in routines, in timing, in little daily annoyances that stack. Almost all of it comes from a handful of assumptions that sound logical, but don't survive real life here. The first misread is treating Charlotte like a single experience instead of a collection of systems. People pick a house first and assume the lifestyle will sort itself out later. It won't. They choose square footage over flow, price over proximity, quiet over alignment. On paper, it looks smart. In practice, they end up driving across town 3 times a day, scheduling their life around traffic windows and wondering why everything feels harder than it should. You feel that fast when your mornings funnel onto 77, or when a quick errand near South Park Mall turns into a 40-minute loop because timing was off. Charlotte rewards planning the week before planning the house. Another blind spot is underestimating how time-based this city is. Not distance, time. 10 miles means nothing here. 10 minutes means everything. The average commute in the Charlotte Metro sits around 27 minutes, but that number hides massive swings depending on when and where you're moving. A drive that feels fine at 10:30 a.m. can quietly wreck your mornings at 8:15. Errors that feel simple on weekends turn into a stress test during the week. Charlotte doesn't punish you for being busy. It punishes you for being inefficient. There's also a mindset gap that sneaks up on people. They arrive expecting the city to entertain them, to deliver instant community, to feel electric right away. When that doesn't happen, they label it boring instead of unfinished. Charlotte doesn't chase you, it responds to you. The people who struggle here wait for life to happen. The people who thrive build routines, show up consistently, and let momentum compound. Another common miscalculation is over-indexing on price instead of total cost. Cheaper mortgage, higher gas bill, longer drives, more wear and tear, less time. It all adds up. That's why nearly 40% of relocation buyers in fast growth metros like Charlotte make a second move within 5 years. Same city, same income, different setup. You see the contrast clearly between living closer to daily needs versus stretching farther out toward Valentine without fully stress testing the week. In Charlotte, cost is a blend of money and minutes. Ignore either one and the math breaks. And finally, people underestimate how much flexibility matters. They lock themselves into a setup that only works for one phase of life. One job, one schedule, one version of themselves. Charlotte shines when you leave room to adjust. When your location still works if your hours change, your family grows, or your priorities shift. These people who struggle are the ones who planned for a snapshot instead of a timeline. None of these missteps mean Charlotte isn't a fit. They just mean the approach was off. The good news is this city is forgiving if you correct early. Small changes make a big difference here. Shift location, adjust timing, redesign the week, and suddenly the city feels smoother, lighter, and easier to live in. And once you understand what to avoid, the next question becomes obvious. If you sidestep these traps, what does doing it right actually look like when all the pieces line up? That's where everything comes together. Charlotte isn't a personality test. It's a systems test. The people who thrive here aren't louder, cooler, or more city than anyone else. They're aligned. They understand what this place is built to support, and they lean into it instead of fighting it. The ones who win here tend to share a few traits. They like momentum more than chaos. They're building something, careers, families, equity, breathing room. They don't need the city to entertain them every night because their weekdays already feel full. And research backs that up. The dominant in-migration group landing in Charlotte sits in the 25 to 44 year age range. Prime years for building, not drifting. That's not accidental. Charlotte gives that group leverage, predictable days, manageable stress, enough upside to keep pushing without burning out. You see it play out in real life. Early workouts along the South End Rail Trail before the city fully wakes up. Structured lunches near Ballantyne Corporate Park, then a clean break once the workday wraps. Calendars make sense here. Weekdays run tight, weekends feel earned. When someone understands that rhythm, Charlotte feels like a cheat code again, but for the right reasons. On the other side, the people who struggle usually aren't failing. They're misaligned. They want spontaneity without structure, culture without comfort, community without showing up. They expect the city to perform for them instead of partnering with them. And when that doesn't happen immediately, frustration creeps in. Not because Charlotte is cold, but because it's neutral. It reflects you back to yourself. There's data behind that gap too. Transplant-heavy metros like Charlotte show slower short-term pace attachment in the first 12 to 24 months. That doesn't mean that people dislike it here. It means belonging takes intention. The people who struggle wait for roots to form automatically. The people who thrive, they plant them on purpose. Lifestyle preference matters here more than personality. If you like designing your week, Charlotte rewards you. If you want everything to feel organic without planning, the city can feel flat. And that's not a flaw, it's a filter. Charlotte amplifies habits. It doesn't override them. The biggest separator isn't income, age, or where you came from. It's expectation management. People who arrive thinking, I'll shape this place around my life, tend to settle in fast. People who arrive thinking, this place should feel like home immediately, often feel off longer than they expected. And here's the upside that most people miss. Once you're aligned, Charlotte compounds. Less noise, more progress, fewer distractions, and better routines. That's why satisfaction tends to increase the longer that people stay, even if the first few months felt pretty neutral. The city grows on you because it grows with you. So if Charlotte hasn't fully clicked yet, that doesn't mean it won't. It usually means one last layer hasn't been translated properly. If this is landing for you, drop a comment. Tell me which part of Charlotte you're trying to figure out right now. And that brings us to the final piece that ties everything together. Not rankings, not headlines. The practical way to decide if this city actually fits your life right now and 5 years from now. Charlotte doesn't punish bad decisions loudly. It taxes them quietly over time. That's the context most moves are missing. We covered what daily life actually feels like, why neighborhoods matter more than square footage, why Charlotte shows up differently in real life than it does online, and why people keep choosing it anyway, how the cost of living really works, and who tends to thrive versus struggle. Every road leads back to the same idea. Charlotte works best when you stop guessing and start designing your setup intentionally. Waiting it out or hoping things figure themselves out usually doesn't blow up here. It just slowly drains time. Longer drives, busier days, less margin. People don't realize anything's off until months have passed and the routine feels heavier than it should. That's why clarity matters more here than urgency. Small course corrections make a massive difference in how the city feels day to day. That's where we come in. We're the local Charlotte real estate team of choice, and our job is not to rush you. It's to help you avoid unnecessary friction. If you're moving to Charlotte, relocating inside the metro, or already here and trying to make it click, our info is in the description. Call us, text us, email us, or toss up the bat signal. No pressure, just straight answers from people who live this city daily. And if you want to keep learning on your own, check out our playlist. The next video breaks down how to choose the right area based on how your life actually runs, not how neighborhoods get labeled online. I appreciate you spending time with me today, and I'll catch you on the next one.